Entering the atmosphere in T minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Omega Metroid podcast from OmegaMetroid.com. My name is Andy Spiteri, reunited with Doomino Crossing. I'm back in Canada. Feels good. I'm tired today, Doom, so I might be leaning on you even more than usual. How are you doing today?
Pretty good with what you were telling me behind the scenes. It sounds like you went on quite the Middle Earth journey to get yourself back home from Chicago, but I'm happy that you're home safe and sound, Andy.
Oh, dude, it was like the Odyssey getting back home. My airline canceled my flight, so I had to fly to Montana, and my wife picked me up from Montana, which is like 8 hours away. So her and my father-in-law drove down to rescue me and bring me back home, and we got in at like 3:42 local time or something like that. It was crazy.
Yeah, that's I felt bad. I felt bad when you were telling me that. Bless you. But it was funny because I was also on vacation. I went to San Francisco, but my journey was nowhere near as it was actually probably one of the better San Francisco drives that I've had. It usually takes about 2.5 to 3 hours for me to get there with traffic, but I was able to get there 2.5 hours my first drive. Second drive got back in like an hour and 40 minutes. Because I left really late in the evening when traffic was subsided, and it was a very smooth drive back home compared to what you endured. But it's very, very relevant that you brought up the Odyssey, because I saw both Spider-Man and the Odyssey this weekend, and my goodness, what an incredible set of films to top this weekend off. Now, if you have to choose one film, if you only can choose one film, obviously you got to pick the Odyssey. This movie is an absolute masterpiece, which is probably no surprise to anyone. There's a good chance you've seen it already. You've probably heard everyone talking about it online. But man, even Spider-Man, like I know you're not a big Tom Holland guy, and you're not quite as hot as on the MCU Spider-Man movies as I am. But I went in with some pretty decent expectations. Man, this new Spider-Man movie, Brand New Day, completely exceeded my expectations. It feels like the most sauce an MCU film has had since like Endgame. Like it really feels like that pre-Endgame era of like genuine quality, like Marvel. And I was really impressed with how mature and just how committed they were in this new direction they took Spider-Man in. The humor didn't feel overly saturated, overly MCU-esque. Like it provided levity, but it wasn't overbearing, like it is on some of the other Spider-Man films, which I do like. The humor can be a bit tonally overbearing.
There's a point where it tips over sometimes.
I felt like for the most part, not all the time, but for the most part, it was a lot better balanced here. And again, like the message was just really earnest, and I thought ultimately pretty beautiful at the end. I thought the cameos actually served the story well. They weren't just cameo slop for the sake of cameo slop. They played into the overall theme of the movie. So yeah, Spider-Man was a huge surprise, but my goodness, Odyssey was such a freaking masterpiece. I already go into every Nolan film with huge expectations, and yet my expectations always get exceeded every single time I walk out of a new Nolan film. And yeah, Odyssey is no exception to that.
Good. Yeah, we actually
it was incredible.
We did a live. Somehow this is actually Goo and I's first ever in-person virtual theater. Every other year that we get together is just kind of like there's been other stuff that we do, but like we did a live episode of virtual theater talking about the Odyssey, and I really liked it. Actually, we talked about Tom Holland a little bit too. I thought he was totally fine, in this movie. Like he did a good job. I have no complaints about Tom Holland there. So yeah, I thought that like I thought it was totally fine, like the job that he did, and I'm really excited to go and see the Odyssey again. Like I'm gonna go. I went in regular theater, not IMAX, so we're gonna go in IMAX and check it out. Maybe like actually even this weekend again, because I was really impressed with that movie. Like I think it's a top 5 Nolan movie. Like
I
I really liked it.
if someone said that this is their favorite Nolan film, I'd be like, yeah,
Yeah,
that's valid.
I can believe that.
Yeah, yeah, this movie is incredible. There's so many, like, whether it's the character moments, whether it's the set pieces, just the tone that is set. Like it really like there's so many scenes that just like that are just like imprinted in my memory right now. The
Yeah.
big scene, and I don't want to give any spoilers, but all I'll say is um I didn't expect the movie to have as much body horror as it did, and the scene with the witch, that's like, if I saw that as a kid, that would have traumatized me so
Yeah.
much. That was so disturbing, and
I
I
thought
mean
that
that
was
in
one
the
of the most
best way
gnarly
possible.
scenes in the movie.
Yeah. So yeah,
Crazy stuff. Yeah. I'm gonna go see it again for sure. I'm really looking forward to seeing that in like big booming IMAX.
yeah.
All right. Well, I want to take just a quick second here and just kind of relay some positive news. So as everyone knows, and hopefully last week's episode wasn't too kind of like noisy or anything like that with kind of all the stuff in the background there. But so I was at the Zelda Dungeon Marathon last week. And we raised just under $23,000 in our 10-day sprint there for the Greater Chicago Food Depository. We had tons and tons of like really great games, really great donations, really great just like people that were there. It's always so hard to come back from the marathon because you don't want to leave all your friends, but it was just another unforgettable week that we had over there. So I wanted to shout out everyone that donated, everyone that that contributed, even with sharing or reposting or anything like that. Anyone that bought any of our merch, and there is some Omega Metroid merch over on Zelda Dungeon Shop right now. It's still there, and if you buy it, the donations or part of the proceeds will still go to the charity. And I also wanted to shout out our Zelda Dungeon tech team and really like the admin team, like everyone that attended played a part in this event being so successful. And it gets thrown around a lot, this word, but it really is like a giant family over on Zelda Dungeon. So it was it was a great week. It was a fulfilling week. It's good to be back, and I'm tired. But it was a really magical time. So I just wanted to shout out the entire team over there, and a big congrats for raising so much. Like the goal was to go through and try and pick a charity that people could see exactly like where it went to. And I will admit, I was a bit skeptical about this choice. I was worried that people might be like, oh, like this is only helping people in Chicago, why would I donate? And I was completely proven wrong, which I was really happy about. So each dollar more or less equates to about 3 meals that were generated. So like that's about 60,000 meals that was raised over context, like 2 months of kind of meals for like a bunch of average families that just have 3 meals a day. So I was really proud of how everything went. And from a tech perspective as well, I thought it went off like really great without a hitch. A lot of what we tried to do last year with our Omega Metroid Marathon was to emulate the success of this event in a much smaller way, of course. But seeing this was very inspiring again, and it got the gears moving and the juices flowing over in my brain. So look forward to some other updates pretty quickly about when we might see something like this again in the Metroid world.
$23,000. That is incredible. Congratulations to you and the Zelda Dungeon staff. That's awesome.
Man, I put my body through the ringer for this year, Doom. I ate sour candy. I played 11 hours of Twilight Princess straight. Every game I played was a Dumb O'Clock segment. I dressed up as Tingle. Man, there was a lot of great bits and great segments, and yeah, just like good times with great friends as well. So it was truly an absolutely incredible experience that was had. And you know, I will say last week was, I think, like some kind of weird anomaly, because I recorded live episodes of the Zelda cast of Omega Metroid. I guess we weren't live, but there were other people in the background with me. Virtual Theater and Middle Earth the podcast. So man, I was full podcast mode in this marathon, dude.
Yeah, we had every single cameo you could imagine on last week's podcast.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun, just having everyone popping in, saying hi, and kind of contributing to that episode.
Yeah, that was fun. So so there we go. And last week's episode, speaking of, was our ending celebrating the 10-year anniversary of another Metroid 2 remake. And today we move forward and we celebrate the big one. The big anniversary, the reason that we're all here. We are celebrating 40 years of Metroid, the OG NES classic, the game that started it all. And we have a lot of really cool stuff coming out. As mentioned, August 6th is the actual day. So August 6th, that's going to be when you are going to get to read our top 40 Metroid moments of all time list. I'm almost done editing this list. Everybody really came in clutch. They contributed a lot of really good analysis, some personal, some analytical, just explaining why a lot of these moments really mean a lot to each writer. You and I contributed a bunch on here, Doom, as well. So like you'll get to hear from us a lot. But yeah, like this is going to be by far the biggest feature that Omega Metroid has ever put out. So it's going live in 2 days, and then we're going to discuss it on this podcast, and we're going to need 2 episodes to do it, because there is just an absolute ton of stuff to go through here. So
I have to say, speaking of, I don't know what happened, but I realized that there's a big moment that probably should have been on the list that I think we all forgot about. Do you want me to just say it right now, or do you want me to wait till the top 40 list to talk about it?
Let's wait, but DM me that moment, because now I gotta know.
Okay.
Now I gotta know, because it's never too late, Doom. It's never too late until the bell rings. But yeah, that's gonna be coming out in 2 short days. I'm really excited about that. I was proofreading it, putting it together. I'm just getting a second set of eyes on it now. We have a few guests as well, some guest writers from Zelda Dungeon, Metroid HQ, that are contributing to the list as well, and even some new team members that have not officially debuted yet over on Omega. So this is going to be really, really cool. And 40 years, just it seems like, and maybe we could just talk about Metroid now, but like it really seems like Metroid was never supposed to get here. It was never supposed to be here.
Right, yeah.
And I think that's why, like, I think that's what makes the Metroid fan different than other Nintendo fans. Like it's coming from the Zelda Dungeon Marathon. Like, Zelda is a very Nintendo coded franchise. It's got the whimsy, it's got the high bar, it's got the quality, it's got kind of that touch, I think, that Nintendo is really known for. And Metroid, like, kind of feels like it doesn't fit into that in a lot of ways. And I feel like it's always felt like that. And so it feels like every year that this franchise is still around is like a victory for everybody that is a fan of the Metroid series. So 40 years really is like quite the accomplishment. I don't think that there are many other video game franchises that have really reached this, and the ones that have are probably, many of them are very similar in that they are the big Nintendo curated IPs, which kind of have like, it almost feels like those are too big to fail. And it feels like Metroid never really has felt like that. It feels like this series has kind of been on the brink, like, for a long time.
Yeah.
It's ups and downs. So it really is like a big monumental achievement that we're sitting here today, Doom, talking about 40 years of Metroid.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, that's what makes, Metroid anniversaries so special. I would say, for the most part, the 30th anniversary, of course, we were that was not a great time to be a Metroid fan, as we talked about during the kind of retrospective and in the context of AIM2R and how, kind of where the Metroid fandom was then. But like, yeah, pretty much most Metroid anniversaries, like, we have like, a good crop of games to look back on, like a lot of series activity, in spite of like how much is like really stacked against this series, whether it just be, like you said, the tone, the design, the sales compared to some of, Nintendo's other big stuff. Metroid, it's never really had its big breakout moment yet. Even Dread, which, which is, a massive, tremendous success, best-selling Metroid game of all time. I think you'd be hard pressed for anyone to call that, like a big breakout moment either. And but again, in spite of that, Metroid always finds a way. It keeps trudging on.
Yeah.
And I think it's because it's so different and unique that Nintendo keeps tapping into it. Whereas, you look at another game like, like Star Fox or F-Zero, we finally just got, our fourth or fifth attempt at Star Fox 64 after like 10 years between the last gap, because, Star Fox, does still have a lot of that whimsy and that Nintendo. And I mean, it's another one of, Miyamoto's projects. So, there's naturally going to be a lot of similarities there. F-Zero, while it's very different from Mario Kart, at the end of the day, it's still a racing game. And so, Nintendo, in their minds, they're probably, fine with, putting their racing eggs into the Mario Kart basket, so to speak. But yeah, Metroid, there isn't really maybe the 3D pre-Breath of the Wild era Zelda games are maybe the closest to a Metroid game, but even then, like these series feel so so different, and I feel like it is that uniqueness, that kind of, Metroid does feel like kind of the older, even though technically Mario and Zelda are both older, but it does kind of feel like that older, mature brother compared to like the rest of the Nintendo family. And I think it is that tone and that desire to kind of tap into a unique audience that maybe those other titles don't necessarily gravitate towards. That, Metroid is always something that Nintendo keeps coming back to.
I think that's well said. Like to me, I'm like, okay, Metroid is the younger brother, but it's the one that's like, it's in the emo phase and it never kind of left the emo phase, which rocks. But I think that's always been like the thing about Metroid that frustrates, but like endears it to people as well, is like, it's different. It offers something different, that if you are a Nintendo, like if you're a Nintendo fan like me, and I love Sony, and I love, well, I don't love these corporations, but I like the output of like the games on PlayStation and Xbox and whatever, and I've owned them all in my time, but like I'm a Nintendo gamer at heart. Like they make the games I want to play. They have the quality that I want. And if you're a Nintendo gamer, like Metroid offers something that you can't get anywhere else in a Nintendo world. And I think it's so great because of that. It always feels unique. It feels like it has its place, its niche, but at the same time, it feels like because it's different, it kind of holds it in a certain spot, into a certain level. And it's like Metroid, I feel like it feels like this series has been waiting for its big break for like the last 40 years. And sometimes it feels like it gets it, like Metroid Prime, Metroid Dread, but like maybe, and then there's always something else that kind of happens to maybe level set instead, right? So like I said, I actually, like, I feel like that's part of the allure of being a Metroid fan, is kind of that struggle, like the desire to get this series into as many new people's hands as possible, but also to kind of like cherish it a little bit because it's yours. And like when Metroid achieves like a victory, it feels like everyone's victory. And when the setbacks come, man, they feel personal almost, but
yes.
But I think that really is part of the DNA of being that Metroid fan, which I think just makes it really special to me and to, many other people as well. So, yeah, it is crazy. Like 40 years, it feels like it definitely was never supposed to get here, but we are here. And, I think that it's absolutely something worth celebrating. And the impact of Metroid, I really don't think like should be overlooked. And some of these I don't want to get too in depth to, because like a lot of these special moments are going to be appearing on our moments list, so I don't want to take some of that thunder away. But you look at what Metroid has done, and it's just like, okay, creation of a new genre where you aren't necessarily scrolling left to right doing level based. Like, yeah, that was Metroid. The first really noteworthy female protagonist in a video game series. Like, yeah, that was Metroid. Just this kind of this dark and foreboding atmosphere that that really kind of sold like the world as a character. Like, I'm sure there were other games that did this as well, but like that again, like that was Metroid. And at the time, like, you stack it up against what Nintendo was offering and some of the other games on the NES, and like there's not a lot that's like it. And so I feel like the DNA of Metroid is just like so so it's just like very, very powerful for a game that like or for a series also in hindsight that doesn't feel like it's ever kind of like reached its max potential. Like, you still have to look at it and say like, this has been highly influential and highly celebrated.
Yeah, like in spite of like Metroid, not really breaking out into the mainstream, I would argue that like so many of its ideas are like incredibly mainstream, maybe even oversaturated to a degree. I mean, when you think of like an indie game, probably the first genre you're going to think of is a Metroidvania. That's a pretty common a pretty common genre that
Yeah.
it basically all spawned from this first game in 1986. And again, so many of like these other subtle mechanics even appear in like non-Metroidvania games, for example, stuff that like we might even take for granted today. Just again, like just the ability to go backwards instead of forwards in a level. I mean, that alone is like pertinent to like pretty much every single game today,
Yeah.
even like a linear game.
Um, Absolutely. Let's talk about the game Metroid here for a few minutes, because I mean, obviously, we're not here without the actual game itself. And one of the things, I've went on a bit of a journey with this game since starting the Omega Metroid podcast, Doom, because I think it's fairly typical and fairly natural, and I would not begrudge anyone for saying this, but I think that you'll find a lot of people that are just like, the first two games in the Metroid series are difficult. They are not my favorite to play. And when you have Zero Mission kind of sitting like right there, I
Yeah.
can totally get why people just kind of skip over this game. Like, I totally get it. And I was probably one of those people. Like, I would have said like, this game I felt like is completely replaced by Zero Mission. And starting this podcast, obviously playing some of the games that we needed to in order to kind of get our content and whatever. I would not say that now. Like, I think that like this, like Nestroid really kind of offers something else that I think that no other game really does. Like, it is very, it is difficult. It's unforgiving. It's going to test you. It's going to challenge you. But I think that like, I think there's a really, really fun NES game there. And I know that people that are kind of like NES like purists might say that this is not one of the better NES games, but for me, I think it is. Like, I think that it's like really, I think it's actually like really fun, and there's like a lot of like really cool stuff that you can do like in the actual game itself. And I've really come to appreciate it the last couple of years. Everything from like the music, I think is like just awesome. All of the different enemy varieties that you can fight, all of the different like power ups that are scattered around, and I guess I just like really love it too. Then this is probably me kind of being an old man yelling at clouds, but like I kind of just love it that they're just like, here you go, figure it out. Like we trust you. You can do this, but you got to figure it out. You got to put in the work, and I really kind of like that about this game. And I know that's probably not for everybody, but it's really resonated with me the last couple of years that I've been enjoying Nestroid when I play it.
you don't have you don't have someone in your radio every 5 minutes telling you where to go. It just
Yeah, dude.
kind of just figuring you just kind of have to figure everything out, and you can you can do things completely out of order. You can go to the wrong spot early, quote unquote wrong spot. It's technically not wrong because it's so freeform, but but the game definitely wants you to explore areas in a certain order. But if you don't, it's also not going to stop you. It's like, all right, you want to stay out of your lane, go take on some enemies that are you'd probably want some other weapons for. Go right on ahead, get lost, literally. And I do kind of respect that that kind of era of gaming because the big thing was like, when you took the games out of arcades, you're no longer arcade games were naturally challenging because you wanted to keep putting the coin in to pay to play. But now you have a different issue with games once you put them onto the home console, where it's like, well, now we don't have that coin limit, but we still need to get replay value out of these games. And so you had a lot of these that's where like a lot of these kind of the vague clues that kind of populated a lot of like these early game designs originated from. Even in the instruction manual that would give you a lot more context, a lot of that wasn't present there either. And so, the mystery of the game was kind of the point, was kind of that alluring factor that kind of cued you in. And I definitely, it's something that I appreciate from a distance more, obviously, because I wasn't really alive at that time. But it's something that I've been learning to really appreciate and accept. And I feel like, of all the games, because I was kind of in the same boat as you previously before you really got into Nestroid, where it's like, you know what, I played it once, but Zero Mission's the one for me from this point forward.
Yeah.
I did my time with Nestroid, but that all changed, and it was weirdly enough because it was the remake, but it was when I played the Link's Awakening remake of all games that kind of changed my perspective and like kind of made me reevaluate how much I appreciate that, because that Link's Awakening remake, at least as far as I'm aware, like gameplay wise, seemed pretty faithful to the Game Boy game, and in regards to like kind of like the vague clues and the mystery of everything. And I actually really enjoyed and respected the hell out of that game for like committing to that and not taking that away. I thought it really enhanced that atmosphere. And while I haven't replayed Nestroid since beating Link's Awakening, I've wanted to revisit it with that mindset and that kind of new appreciation. And yeah, I think I'm ready to experience this game again in a new light.
Yeah. Like I had like a really fun time like playing this last year for the Omega Metroid Marathon. Like Griff and I did a race of Nestroid, and like I had a real like just a blast actually like racing it. I raced it again with Elias Thompson and Metroid HQ, and he was telling me like man, I can't find anybody that wants to play this game. And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. Like, if you want, like you did some stuff for our marathon. Like I have no problem contributing like, I don't know, 2 hours of my time to do this. And he looked at me and he's like, 2 hours. And I was like, oh my God, like I'm way worse than anyone else that's ever played this in the past before. And I was like, I could try and get it down to like something better. And he's like, dude, the last person that played it took like 5 hours to do. And like, so I feel like I'm like getting pretty decent at it as well. And one thing that I think like was really helpful for me, and this is kind of my reoccurring theme of like all of these different games, but like writing the walkthrough, I feel like for Nestroid was something that I just thought was like really interesting. It really helped me understand like the game and what it was trying to do. And like the first part of the walkthrough that I wrote was like, okay, these are a few things that gamers should know before playing this game. Because I was like, the only people like, I mean, you can find walkthroughs anywhere on the internet, right? But I was like, most people I think that are going to be playing this game are, going to be playing it on NSO. They're probably experiencing it for the first time, probably after playing a different Metroid game. So I was like, okay, I put together almost like an FAQ of all the different like kind of I don't know, quirks about this game, and it helped me kind of like understand the game a lot better as well. So I feel like I've really kind of like gained an appreciation for Nestroid when I went and did that. And like once you kind of know what to expect and you know kind of what the game expects of you, I think it's like a really, really fun game, and it's challenging, and like there's tons of cool enemies, there's tons of cool sprites. And I just like I really think that it's a little bit too bad, because I think that this game gets slept on now in its old age. You know, you turn 40 and people put you out to pasture doom, but I think that there's like a really, really fun game here to be had. Even if it's got no map, even if it's got, you know, no real hints or anything like that. I think that this game like really actually does still hold up, which is part of the reason why this series got to the 40th anniversary here. Is like that foundational piece was really strong. Like if you were asking me, like I'm probably gonna say like Super Metroid is probably the foundation for the series, but like there's no Super Metroid without Metroid either. So like you can't overlook this.
Yeah, and I think pretty much everyone would agree with that. Absolutely, where it's like Super Metroid kind of perfected that template, and that template kind of became what a lot of, I would say specifically the Metroidvania genre takes from. But again, kind of going, you know, like you said, there is no Super Metroid without Metroid, but also again, just some of those quirks that again we take for granted like originate in like Nestroid as well, that are just present all over gaming. Like I feel like I would argue that like, you know, Nestroid, you know, is like hugely impactful to 3D gaming in general, just because of like the wide breadth of space and how you approach level design, where, you know, you're not just going like, you know, you look at like you know, Mario 64 for example versus something like Crash Bandicoot, where Crash Bandicoot is very much like a 3D Donkey Kong Country kind of, where you're going from point A to point B through a gauntlet, whereas, you know, Mario 64, it's kind of like this open hub where you can go in all sorts of different directions. And you know, was Miyamoto specifically thinking of Metroid when making that game? Probably not, but there's a lot of connective tissue that you can link back to Metroid just by simply going backwards. You know, it's a 2D plane that, you know, increases like its scope and its breadth just by introducing that single cardinal direction.
It's just like, it's a really impressive game, I feel like, for a couple of reasons. And this is kind of true of a lot of Metroid games, but it's just like your first playthrough, it's going to take you forever. Your second playthrough, you could probably beat it in like an hour and 15 minutes, you know? So yeah, like I feel like so much of what this game represents is just like, it has really stood the test of time. And I guess like, let's talk about some of the things from Nestroid that are still kind of like we're enjoying today. And obviously, you know, that's Samus and a lot of her power-ups, but like I think like this game obviously introduced the whole concept of like the space pirates, the Metroids themselves. We still have the Chozo statues. Like we still have so much of what this game kind of introduced. And I want to say too, like I think that like the final sequence of this game is just like so killer. You not even through like a retrospective lens, like just like the mad dash through Torian, if you're freezing or maybe you're destroying the Metroids, is like super, super intense. The Mother Brain fight is just like, I mean, that fight is just like absolutely crazy. Like that gets my blood pumping a ton. And the escape sequence too, which has now become like a proud staple of the series. Like I feel like these are all like really, really high points in the series that like don't need to be looked back on and being like, oh, this was good for the time. Like it's still just like really good right now. Like I remember Griff and I in Torian, and I was like, I was locked in. It was super intense, and I was like, man, this is great. Like it doesn't get better than this.
Yeah, I feel like, yeah, because there's so much mainstays of the series, as you mentioned, that like, yeah, like originated from Nestra. I mean, and again, I think some of my favorite ones are like the kind of like unintended consequences. So like the Mario or that we call the morph ball nowadays. Like that was like originally Samus was supposed to have a crawling animation, but they couldn't animate that on the NES, so they're just like, all right, well, we're turning into a ball now. That's all we can do. And now that's like an iconic ability that is like specifically associated with Metroid and nothing else. It's like this unique Metroid idea of like transforming into this portable object that can move fast and go through tight crevices. And there's a bunch of stuff like that, or even the mistranslation, not as iconic as the morph ball, but the mistranslation of what was supposed to be called the barrier suit, but now it's the various suit, and that's just part of Metroid canon now, and I'm glad it is. I can't imagine that suit being called anything else. And yeah, there's so much of like little accidents and happenstances of that, and it's like, wow, just a simple design tweak could have like completely ballooned outside the future entries in the series, and we could be looking at something completely different in totality when you look at all of those like little split second kind of seemingly whatever decisions in the moment that ended up having like a huge butterfly effect on the series as a whole. Stuff like that just absolutely fascinates me about this game.
One thing as well that I wanted to mention about Nestroid, the game, before we move on kind of to the series, is like, I particularly love the Justin Bailey bit. I've always loved playing as like Justin Bailey Samus. I think it's just like such a killer look for Samus. So I wanted to shout that out. And like, there really is like a lot of different like passwords and other things, like customizable like inputs that you can put to kind of curate your game. Like, so yeah, I think that is something worth shouting out as well. But yeah, like I feel like Nestroid to me is really, it's really like went up my ranking of the Metroid games and like a lot of my experiences with him, and I kind of feel like it's simple. There's definitely some warts on it, but like it's really, really worth playing. And I think that you can have like a really fun time if you just kind of go in and give it the right kind of attention that you need to give it in order for it to, to really hit home. Because like, I think that like if you do that, there's a lot of scenes in Zero Mission and Super Metroid, some other 2D Metroid games that kind of hit harder if you have that baseline knowledge of Metroid as well. So, yeah, I've really kind of went on a journey with this game in the last couple of years due to this podcast. So, we wouldn't be here without Nestroid. I guess like Doom, maybe we could just wax nostalgia about 40 years of Metroid here. I'm going to be 40 not next year, but in 2028. So I'm feeling it too. I'm just like, oh man.
Hey, 40 is the new 30, Andy.
Maybe it is. Yeah. Maybe it. No, wait a second. No, I'm going to be 40 in 2027 because I turned 39 this year. So my memory's going already. But yeah, like I feel like, man, like Metroid, like I have literally grown up with Metroid, and I didn't find Metroid until I was like, I don't know, 10 or something like that. Whenever Super Smash Bros. Came out, and I played as Samus, and I was just like, who is this crazy cool robot? And of course found out it was Samus, and then Metroid, and then got Super Metroid immediately after, and then like never looked back from there. So like, I feel like this series has really been a big part of my life for a long time, and you know what, like especially the last 7 years now, like starting Omega Metroid, and we talked about Zelda Dungeon at the beginning, and I was like, man, this is such like a great community. We're doing things for a great cause. Like through my podcast, the ZeldaCast, I feel like I have understood a lot of the Zelda games on a much deeper, more intimate level, and so I wanted to do that same thing for Metroid. And I feel like I've got there. Like I feel like I feel like now I'm like, man, I feel like I intimately know almost every game. I know it probably doesn't sound like it on the podcast sometimes because I'm like, what's this? What's that? But like I feel like most games, like their core, I'm like, I get it. Like I get what you're doing, I get what you're saying. And really just like talking about Metroid and creating this community, I feel like has made me appreciate the series like tenfold, even more actually than like when I before, and I was already a massive Metroid fan beforehand.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that the phrase that I would use is this podcast keeps me humbled more than anything, which I really appreciate. I'm not gonna go over my entire Metroid journey because I literally have a solo episode from last year detailing my entire journey from the introduction to the series to kind of leading into Metroid Prime 4 at the time, which still hadn't released. So if you want to get that full story, you can check out that episode from last year. But yeah, I feel like, to kind of tie into what we were talking about in the beginning of the episode, the series has, being a Metroid fan, it's a lot of work. It's a huge investment that's filled with its ups and downs. And there's especially that period from Other M to like the Samus Returns Prime 4 reveal. That was a really rough time to be a Metroid fan, and I remember kind of myself in that time. Like, if you'd asked me what my favorite video game series was, I'd still say Metroid. But I wasn't actively in the community. I wasn't really thinking about Metroid. Yeah, I wasn't buying Metroid merchandise. I mean, there wasn't really a lot of Metroid merchandise to buy back then, but you get the point. It wasn't really actively on my mind. I wasn't going out of my way to replay the games or to celebrate the series. Like, if you asked me, remind me about it, it's like, oh yeah, Metroid, it's my favorite, but it wasn't, it wasn't living in my mind rent free like it would be today. But sure, to kind of go back to what we were talking about earlier, I think it's those low points of the series that make those high points feel so special. And, I don't want to get into it, but there's definitely one, arguably the high point of the series that absolutely is going to be on our list, that I feel like, if not for those low points, would not be as impactful as it was. And why it's, why that moment is so special to the Metroid community as a whole. And so, yeah, the low moments, they suck. They're not fun. Luckily, even post Prime 4, I'd say we're in a much better spot than we were post Other M.
No comparison.
But it does make those wins just feel extra special. And I feel like that is what makes being a Metroid fan just so unique. Because, like, if you're a Mario fan, I mean, I'm a Mario fan. Mario games are amazing, especially the 3D Mario games. A big fan of those 3D Mario games, let me tell you. But a victory in a 3D Mario game, it's just kind of like an expectation at this point. I know, and that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. I love knowing that, like, hey, whenever that new 3D Mario game is announced, that game, it's probably going to sell really well. It's probably going to be one of the best games of that year. It's probably going to
get a Game of the Year nomination.
Yeah, it's probably going to be insanely quality. It's something that I take for granted, but it's really special. I know it's coming eventually, and I like that consistency. If every single series was like Metroid, where it was just like, oh, I don't know when the next one's going to be, like, that would drive me up the wall. But when you do have a series like Metroid where everything is in limbo and you still get those victories, it makes that, and again, especially when you have a game that does land, where it does sell really well, where it does resonate with audiences, and you're like, oh my gosh, yes, it worked.
Now
everyone gets
it.
We're back. Yes. Like there's something that feels extra special about that. It almost feels, it's not personal, but it almost feels more personal.
I agree with that. Like, I feel like, I kind of feel like it almost is personal, actually. Like, it's like I was saying, like, part of the great thing about being a Metroid fan is the struggle, because, like, when it pays off, it's like, I stuck with it. I now get to rep, like there's been a few times, when great things have been announced or have happened, and, like, I don't know about you, like, I'm the Metroid guy with my, even in Zelda Dungeon, right? Like, if there's something cool that happens with Metroid, like, at least like 5 people are pinging me, just being like, hey, did you see this? Did you see this? Did you see this?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's really cool. And, like, I'm sure that, like, that exists in other fandoms and stuff as well, but it does feels better with Metroid. 'Cause, like, yeah, like, when there's a new Zelda game coming out, like you said, you're absolutely right. This is going to be one of the best games of the year. It's going to do really well. It's going to, like, like, Zelda certainly leveled up after Breath of the Wild, and I think Metroid is still looking for its Breath of the Wild. Metroid Dread was really close. Um, but like, yeah, I feel like it's like that kind of struggle that allows you to really celebrate those moments, and like this really is a moment that should be celebrated in big, grand, spectacular way. Like you just, like, off the top of my head, like, I mean, we got Mario, Zelda, Donkey Kong, Pac-Man, like, I don't know, man. I can't think of a whole lot of other like video game franchises that are like actively like not in limbo that are putting out new releases. And I'm sure there's a few that I missed, but like for a game series, like I said, that kind of has felt like it's never really had the full support of Nintendo, but Nintendo clearly knows that there's something there with this series, and there's something worth like preserving and worth investing in to keep making these new games, because it really does have something that the rest of these franchises don't. Like I feel like that really is like this crazy accomplishment that shouldn't be like overlooked. So yeah, it's actually like wild to think like that this is going to be 40 years old. It like
Yeah.
in 2 days.
Yeah, well, yeah. Tomorrow, by the time the folks at home are listening to this,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible. It's one of those things that, like, you know, if you create something, you know, you're probably not thinking like, yeah, I wonder if people are still going to be thinking about this 40 years later. And so for all the team that worked on this game, you know, I hope I hope they're happy sleeping tonight knowing that, like, they've resonated so much with a worldwide community that all spawned from this game. I hope they go home being proud of their accomplishments. They're probably not thinking about this podcast, but, you know, I mean, like, as you know, audiences in general. Yeah, it's absolutely incredible.
40 years, dude. That's absolutely wild. I mean, there's certainly been like you said, some down points in the 30 years as well.
Yeah. I mean, you could argue we just caught off one pretty recently, but I would say, but again, I would also kind of tie that back into what we were talking about. I think that's just a testament to what makes the 40th anniversary so special to us. Like, you would think like, oh my gosh, we have the stain of Metroid Prime 4 tainting this anniversary. I don't think it's tainted this anniversary at all for me. Again, I feel like even post Prime 4, I feel like we're in a much better place than, again, we were 10 years ago. Even, you know, as much of a masterpiece as Super Metroid was, I mean, you know, Metroid completely skipped the N64. That was an 8-year gap between that and Metroid Prime 1/Fusion. And so, yeah, in spite of that, you know, I'm feeling really confident about the series' future. In spite of in spite of our thoughts on Metroid Prime 4, which this is a celebration episode, so we're not going to get into that today.
Sure, and like, you know, I think like you can't honor 40 years of Metroid without talking about kind of the valleys, as it were, instead of just the peaks. And like I do, like, I think that is so important to what makes this franchise's identity so relatable for those that love it. But like there is kind of like an inherent, I feel like, resilience in the Metroid fan, you know, like or maybe I'll speak for me, but I feel like this is true of like a lot of people. It's like, okay, Other M was let's rewind even further. It's like, okay, so we completely skip the N64. Like what do? We have Smash Bros at least, and we campaign for all these new games. Other M comes out, it's a complete disaster. What do? Fans literally come together to make like a Metroid game that is going to celebrate the 30th anniversary on their own. You know, Metroid Prime 4 comes out, it's not exactly what a lot of people want, and so like, what do Metroid fans do? It's like, well, on to Metroid Prime 5. You just kind of got to put it in the blinders. Like there's just like
Metroid Ravenous
or Ravenous. Yes, who could forget about that? So I do like appreciate that there is that resilience to always go and, you know, what's next when something doesn't work out, and then when that what's next hits, it's just like it's so good. So yeah, it's a crazy wild thing to think about playing this game, or playing this series for the last 40 years almost. We have a few minutes here, Doom. Let me ask you a couple questions. I want to go back to Nestroid here for a second. I'm trying
Sure,
to
yeah.
think of the first time that I actually ever played Nestroid, and I don't know if I can remember it. What about you?
So technically, it was probably when I unlocked it in Zero Mission. I probably played a little bit about that, but I only really dabbled. I never like fully like engrossed myself. The first time I fully engrossed myself in Nestroid, it was sometime during the gap between Other M and Federation Force. Sometime during that gap is when I finally like really dove into Nestroid. I think it was actually, I think I might have even played it on the Wii U Virtual Console, of all places. Funny enough.
Hmm.
But that was the first time where I played it, and obviously I used the rewind feature. I didn't play it the legitimate way by any means. But yeah, that was kind of the first time experiencing that. I definitely want to. One thing I do want to try, and I actually initially planned it for the 40th anniversary celebration, but we ended up kind of scrapping it just because we had so much other stuff that we wanted to go over in a short period of time. But
Hmm.
there's this fan made SNES port of Metroid, by a user called Infidelity, and it's basically like the same Metroid NES experience, but like enhanced, and it's converted into a Super Metroid ROM, or excuse me, a Super Nintendo ROM, but it's still like the same Nestroid. It fixes a lot of like the kind of the lag that happens in like some of the bigger rooms with like a bunch of enemies. It features a map screen. It allows you to like stack the wave and the ice beams together, and a lot of this stuff is optional too. So if you do want the purest experience, you can also disable a lot of that stuff as well.
Hmm.
But that port has always, ever since it came out, really intrigued me, and that's kind of how I want to try that out, kind of for the next time that I dive into Metroid. You can also really cool. So it includes the save feature from the Famicom version, so you don't have to type in the passwords each time. You can also choose between the NES and the Famicom soundtrack as well. So it has both
Oh.
included, I want to say like a brand new synthesized soundtrack that you can choose as well. So just a lot of really nice quality of life enhancements that you can kind of toggle to kind of make it a little bit more friendly, maybe to change the experience or to keep it as pure as you want. So yeah, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to that, since we're not really going to be covering that for
Hmm.
our little celebration this month.
Yeah, you know what? On that train, I will also give a shout out. We played this at the Omega Metroid Marathon last year, but there's an exceptional ROM hack of Nestroid called Metroid Rogue Dawn, which is like it's really cool actually, and it fits like really well into the established canon of Metroid. Doesn't contradict anything, so I always in my own head I'm just like, okay, this is what happened before the game got going here. But um, yeah, I feel like I'm trying to think about. I actually think I might have nailed down where the first time that I played Nestroid was. So my Metroid fandom really got started in like 1999 with Super Metroid. Went over to I played Metroid 2 shortly after. I feel like I got to have played Nestroid on the NES because I know that I had one and a couple of my friends had an NES, and like you could find Metroid everywhere for NES. But I feel like one of the first times I like actually sat down and like played it was on like the Game Boy Advance. Do you remember they had those Game Boy Classic titles or whatever, like the classic NES
Yeah,
titles?
yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was it, and then I'm pretty sure it was the Wii Virtual Console after. Because could you make save states on the
You could,
Virtual
yeah. The
Console?
Wii Virtual,
I
yeah, Wii
think you
Virtual
could.
Console gave you save states, yeah.
I'm pretty sure that must have been the first time I actually beat it because I was like, I'm at Mother Brain, I'm making a save state, like let's go, and then like I think like yeah, like the Switch really gave it new life with the rewind feature and the not the life of luxury mode, but like the SP mode or whatever that it has. So
Hmm.
I've played a lot of Nestroid the last couple of years, but yeah, that was I think that was the first time that I had really went through and really like battened down. One great experience that I also had with Nestroid, this was recently, was on our Patreon. Gooey, my pal, was playing Nestroid, and he was actually like mapping it out and like bought some grid paper and like drawing like where items were and stuff like that, and it was really fun like playing it through, not even playing it, but like seeing him play it through that lens. So I feel like with each passing year, I'm just like, man, this Asteroid game is actually like super awesome and really gives you like a bunch of different ways that you can go ahead and play this. So yeah, shout out to the Game Boy Advance classics, and like also like there are just like so many, as you point out, Doom, incredible, amazing ROM hacks that that like really can enhance this game if you want, or turn this game into something else. So one of the most versatile games in the series.
Yeah, I think versatile is a really good way to sum that up, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Top 40 Metroid moments comes out next week. That is I'm really excited for this. Like, this is going to be a really big feature, and I think that like I didn't want to get into some of the things that make Nestroid special, because some of them will be appearing on this list, but we'll have a lot of time to dig into that. But I think this list is going to really kind of encapsulate the specialness of being a Metroid fan, and I'm really excited to share it with everybody. The whole team worked really hard on it. We put together a lot of thoughts, a lot of words. We negotiated, we argued, we politicked in order to make this list, but I think it did come together really, really nicely, and I'm really looking forward to everybody being able to get to read that. And I did see the moments that we left off the list. I you know what? Maybe that's a borderline, but you're right. There's probably going to be some people being like, "You guys are crazy."
Yeah, that moment came to me, and I was like, "Oh man, we didn't even bring that up." I feel like that should have at least been in the discussion.
There are so many moments, man. 40 years is a long time. Could you round together the top 40 moments of your life over the last like 40 years? I think it'd be tough, but
Yeah, I certainly couldn't.
I couldn't either. But yeah, we had a team, and we got it, and I think it turned out really, really well. The article looks really cool. I'm going to be putting the finishing touches on that, and I think next week we're going to hit the ground running and just really get into it and dig apart like some of these magical spots that just make this series like really impactful and really special. So I'm looking forward to that. Nestroid, man, if you haven't played it in a long time, or you haven't played it ever, I think that you really should. Like, there's a lot of really great things in Nestroid, and you know what? A cheap plug here, but like if your concern is like this game maybe is not quite for me, it's a little bit too old. Use our guide, use our maps, and that I think is going to help you a lot. Like, I think for most players, like when you have a map, it really makes Nestroid a little bit more manageable to get through. So I encourage everybody to go do that, to go and use our maps, use our walkthroughs, go check out just a few of the things that you should know, guide section, and you'll get kind of an understanding of this game and what it's all about. So yeah, I don't know, maybe we should play do a little Nestroid Doom in honor of it. Maybe we could get together and get a little playthrough going on.
Hey, you know what? I think I'm overdue, so I would be completely down. Again, like I said, I really want to check out that SNES port. That thing has really intrigued me. So I don't know. Maybe that's something we could do like a little blind playthrough of.
Maybe that's the play. Maybe that's the play. All right. Well, I am like, I'm half dead here, Doom. I've got my sleep schedule all messed up. My back is hurting from my Odyssey home. We better bring it home here so that next week we can go full tilt into the top 40 Metroid moments of all time. The article is coming out on Thursday. It's Tuesday today, right? Yes, as we record.
Yes.
So the article is coming out on Thursday. I really, really hope that you guys check it out. Let us know what you think about it. Leave a comment, and let us know what your feelings about Nestroid are. If this game means anything special to you, we'd love to hear your thoughts on the 40th anniversary of the series and what this series means to you as well. Of course, you can do that by joining our Discord. You can get in and talk with a bunch of fellow nerds and celebrate this big achievement. So we hope to see a lot of you there, and a big congrats to 40 years of Metroid. So cheers.
Cheers.
All right, Doom. That's going to do it for us. We do want to encourage everybody to go and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Like, review, recommend. If you do have a Metroid fan in your life, tell them about the Omega Metroid podcast. We are doing these shows every single week. Every Wednesday is when these episodes are dropping. And if you cannot get enough, if you need more Omega Metroid, we've got you covered. Patreon.com/SPNet has bonus episodes, tons of ROM hack reviews, the great Metroid area ranking, where we do in fact rank every single area in the Metroid series, plus Gooey's playthrough of Metroid 1, Metroid 2, and now Super Metroid as well. That is kind of nearing its crescendo as we get deeper into Meridia. And there is a ton of other stuff there as well. If you're a fan of Zelda, if you're a fan of Lord of the Rings, if you're a fan of wrestling, if you're a fan of whatever, there's a ton of stuff for you to check out. $1 gets you in the door. Patreon.com/SPNet. Check us out over on YouTube as well. Like if we're going to be streaming, it's going to be over on our YouTube channel. So you never know when we're going to go live, when we're going to try something, when we're going to try a hack that we've never played before. So I encourage everybody to go and check that out, as well as we have all of these podcasts in full video form there, plus some video walkthroughs of different games as well. And speaking of, OmegaMetroid.com is where you want to go to read this Top 40 Metroid Moments article. It's got walkthroughs for all of the Metroid games, maps, thought pieces, other written work, you name it, it's there. If you are a Metroid fan, OmegaMetroid.com is where you need to go in order to get your Metroid fix. Lastly, you gave us a follow over on Blue Sky. We are at Omega Metroid. I'm at Spiteri316. Doom is at Doom Cross. That's it, my friends. We are going to get out of here. We will see you back here next week for the Top 40 Metroid Moments Part 1. Until then, everybody, take care.